Mm-hmm.
Hey everybody, we're back again, MidwestHockey.info, doing a bit of an experiment today. It's not live, but it's going to be about as quick as we can turn this around. We're actually going to get footage while we watch the NHL entry draft. We're about, I think, 3 minutes away from the first pick, Trent.
Mm-hmm.
The first couple, I think, are going to be pretty obvious. The Leafs, much to my happiness, I'm a closet Leafs fan. They're going to be taking Austin Matthews. Patrick Laine, I believe, will go to Winnipeg. And then I think the fun's going to start with our Columbus Blue Jackets. It's starting to look more and more like there's going to be a deal there.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to say right now.
Yeah.
I think they really want a center. So whether or not they trade the pick outright for a center or move back and get somebody, it's going to be tough to say.
So we're going to get our reaction. The first one of note will be third overall. And then I think 15, 16, Minnesota, Detroit, and then later in the draft. So we'll come in a couple times and see if we can talk. And as I said, this is really off the cuff. We got no paperwork, no nothing tonight. This is just going to be our own thoughts on how things go tonight.
Sounds good.
Okay, this is our first check-in, and there has been some drama. I suppose we thought that Columbus probably would do something different with their pick. They did not make a trade. We're not sure if they were trying to or not. But they did not take Jesse Puljujarvi either. The first two picks, Austin Matthews, Patrick Laine, just textbook, the way everybody expected. Jesse Puljujarvi was sort of the consensus number 3. Columbus goes off the board a little bit, takes Pierre-Luc Dubois from the Cute Red Screaming Eagles. He was expected to go 4th or 5th, I believe. There was some debate between him and Shook, I think. They take Pierre-Luc Dubois. Trent, it's probably a position thing. They wanted a center. This lets them keep Boone Jenner on the wing. And I think the expectations are now that Dubois is going to come in and maybe be their number 1 center.
Yeah, I think, you know, a lot of people projected him as a wing in the NHL. But obviously, I would imagine to pass up on Puljujarvi.
Yeah.
They're thinking he's a center. And, you know, he's a good two-way player. Good forechecker. Creates time and space in the offensive end. Great skater. So, I mean, they have a good player. In my opinion, not the best player available. But if they're looking at a position thing, you know, that could be why they went the way they did. And then in other news, you know, involving one of our teams, the Chicago Blackhawks traded Andrew Shaw.
Yeah, it's so strange. The one team of our 5 teams that didn't have a first-round picks makes the biggest news on draft day, right after the pickup of Austin Matthews. As we were speaking, by the way, the Oilers are practically running up to the stage. We know they're probably going to take Jesse Puljujarvi now. They're excited. Montreal makes back-to-back trades, but the big news being Andrew Shaw going to Montreal for a couple of second-round picks. You could have knocked me over with a feather when I heard the news. But the shocking thing is the Chicago Blackhawks, who didn't have a pick until the 3rd round a week ago, now have 3 second-rounders.
Yeah.
So they're suddenly becoming a bit more of a player in their draft. As expected, Puljujarvi is going to go to Edmonton. Trent, you are a big fan of him. You've been watching this guy for a long time.
Yeah.
That's... you know, there's going to be some debate on this pick for Columbus, and Edmonton was glad to snap up Puljujarvi.
Yeah, you know, everyone takes their time going up there. Edmonton definitely did not. But, you know, it's always a risk if you don't pick that number 1 guy, the anticipated guy that you should be picking, and you go down a little bit and reach, but... You know, if they're looking for a center and they couldn't find a trade partner to move back a couple, you know, it's understandable.
They waited and waited and waited. It made me think that they were hoping somebody was going to make that phone ring at the last second. It never happened. They finally, you can see somebody came up behind Keith Leinen and said, you know, you got to go up there now. And they had to go and make their pick. And they took a chance. They rolled the dice. This could just be the start of something else. You know, there could be more from Columbus before this night's over. For us right now, we're sitting and waiting here for 15 and 16, but there could be some more drama unfolding here in the moments ahead, don't you think?
Yeah, trades. I mean, trades just feel imminent at this point. Yeah. And it's just, I feel like the tension is just so thick you can cut it with a knife.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised by that Columbus pick, but we're going to hear a lot more about this guy in the days and weeks ahead, and who knows, maybe he'll be the guy they're looking for.
Yeah, sounds good.
So we'll talk to you again a couple picks now. Okay, we're back with some big news. Lots happening here.
Yeah.
The Detroit Red Wings were supposed to just make their pick. A lot of drama leading up to that, though. I want to go back. We've been saving some things. We're now 18 picks in, I believe, 17 picks in. Around the 10 pick mark, I think, huge trade. Calgary, there was rumors that they were looking for goalies, lots of names coming up. The last one I expected, Brian Elliott from the St. Louis Blues goes to the Calgary Flames, and that was just really, and it was for a second rounder this year, and I think a third round next year or something. After the playoff heroics, I was really shocked, Trent.
Yeah, I know. I had seen his name come up in the rumor mills a little bit, so I wasn't completely shocked. But out of the goalies that they were talking about, he wasn't the one I expected to go. I was thinking possibly Jimmy Howard or Marc-Andre Fleury being the two top ones.
Right.
I know they were talking a lot about Ben Bishop, but I think that would have been really expensive.
Bishop was another name that had been bounced around at least, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then we go through the picks. Defensemen have fallen a fair bit. And then we get to Minnesota with the fit. Where's the trade alert right in front of us? So let's wait here. Is he announcing a trade?
Yep, trade alert. It looks like the Philadelphia Flyers might be
looking at a trade. Okay, so we'll try to get back for that. Minnesota makes their pick at 15th. They take Luke Cunnin, a forward who was a freshman at the University of Wisconsin. One bright light on a team that had a dismal season, finished last place in the Big Ten, but Cunnin was a bright light. One of four players from St. Louis. There's been 7 Americans drafted so far, Trent.
Yep.
You corrected me on that. 4 of them out of St. Louis youth hockey. Clayton Keller, who went to Arizona. Matthew Tkachuk went to Calgary. Logan Brown went to Ottawa. And now Cunnin goes to the Minnesota Wild. So a great day for the USA and a great day for St. Louis youth hockey.
Yeah, the 4 of those players played on the same AAA Bantam team in St. Louis. That's coached by Keith Tkachuk and Al McGinnis. Yeah. So, I mean, I guess you can't be that surprised.
Yeah, that's a pretty good influence there. So then the 16th pick falls to Detroit. Trent was pretty excited. He was hoping that Jacob Chychrun would fall, and he did. He was available. Trent was excited. And then suddenly, Detroit doesn't walk up to make their pick. Time goes on. Talk of a trade, which is actually... there's more talk of a trade here now. But, yeah, zeros on the clock. Trent's like, what are you doing, Detroit? Get up there and take Chychrun. And the trade that many had been speculating and hoping for, Detroit trades the rights to Pavel Datsyuk to the Arizona Coyotes, who was the team most expected him to go to, for their 20th overall pick, a second rounder this year, and the rights to Joe Vitale. So really a nice little pickup for Detroit. They shed some contract and become legitimate players in the Steve Stamkos sweepstakes.
Yeah, there was a lot of speculation. I know a team was looking to trade the Wings for the Datsyuk contract, and they wanted Mantha or Andreas Athanasiou in return.
Right.
A lot of speculation before that was Thomas Jurko or Timo Pulkkinen.
Right.
But this way they pick up, they go back 4 picks. Not that big of a deal. Chychrun would have been a nice pickup for the Wings, but there's Logan Stanley who's available. He's a monstrous defenseman. They may be looking at him. There's a couple good options right in there. I mean, this is a deep first round, but they get a second round pick this year also. And then Vitelli, who they may or may not decide to play on their fourth line if they let Drew Miller go. He might be their fourth line defense or forward. And so, I mean, they gave up no prospects.
Yeah.
Got rid of that. Have a chance at Steven Stamkos, which is huge. And then, you know, if they don't get Stamkos, I would like to see them get Ladd and Radulov.
Ooh.
So,
that's a nice little combination.
Yeah, so, I mean, there's still good things that can come from this trade.
Right.
Now, all we need is some D there in Detroit, so.
Yeah, so they're probably going to be taking a defenseman. Looks like the Flyers have swapped picks with the Jets. It's pretty minor. They're swapping first-round picks, and then it looks like the Jets are giving Flyers a second-rounder for a third-rounder. So it's not that big a deal in a night of a lot of stuff going on. So we'll be back shortly. Detroit should be making a pick at 20th unless something else happens.
Yeah.
So they'll be picking at 20th, and then St. Louis at 28th. So we'll be back shortly.
I know I was swearing at the TV. I know I wanted Chychrun, but in Ken Holland we trust.
Yeah. Okay, we're popping in again after the 20th pick. This time Detroit did make their pick. They raced up to the podium. No, they went up to the podium and made a bit of a surprising pick. Dennis Cholowski, a 6'1" defenseman from Chilliwack, or played in Chilliwack of the Western Hockey League. I'm not sure the numbers.
BCHL.
Oh, so he is a bit of a project player, I think, for the Red Wings. I don't think that they're expecting anything immediate out of him. They're looking to address some needs on defense. They do have some good defensemen in the system. They have Hiccups and Soriarbi who are coming up, and they have some good defensemen in Grand Rapids, but that's being addressed as a weakness on the team.
Yeah, I think they're looking to try to juice the defensive rankings, trying to get some young prospects in there. And they really like Cholowski. Good skater, decent size at 6'1". Going to be more of an offensive defenseman for him. So, you know, if you can skate, that's the first step. You know, if you're a good skater, the coaches can turn you into something. So,
yeah,
that's the big one.
Yeah, the sort of tail of the tape that they were showing as he was walking up to the podium showed that you know, there's definitely some areas that need some work.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, we were a little bit surprised. You had some players that you thought, you know, were maybe more deserving. But you know, when it's the Detroit Red Wings, you don't question it. Like,
no.
I mean, you know, they went off the board. They said the ratings for him were at one time 39th. He climbed a bit to 25th, and the Wings actually took him 20th. So he was projected at one time to be maybe a mid-second round pick. He ends up going mid-first round. So good for him, and clearly the Detroit Scouts saw something in him.
Yeah, I thought there was a lot of good forwards available, but they have so much depth at forward in the system. So I think that you know, they're really trying to bluster that defense, especially their prospects. So you know, we'll see where that goes.
Yeah. So as we're talking, Carolina's making their pick 21st. Philadelphia's on the clock. We're now 6 picks away from St. Louis, who's already made some first-round news with the trade of Brian Elliott. We'll see what they do with their late pick, and we'll be back to talk about it. Okay, so we're wrapping up our first-round coverage here. Thanks, Trent, for letting me come over and watch it, by the way.
Yeah.
The final team to pick in the first round out of our Midwest group was the Blues. A little bit of activity there. A trade, I'm not really sure why they did. They were selecting 28th, moved up to 26th with a trade with Washington. They swapped picks. They get Washington's 26th. Washington gets their 28th, and then I think a third round pick was 83rd or something like that. And the Blues use that to get Tage Thompson, an American winger who I believe is just finished his first year at UConn.
Yep.
So I think he's got some size, but he's definitely
6'6".
a project player. He's going to be going back to UConn, I'm sure, next year. So, can you think of any reason why they wanted him so desperately?
Well, I think he kind of fits their mold. They like the big players. I think they were worried that, they were going to lose him to either the Caps or the Lightning. So you move up, you see a player you like, who's still available maybe after you thought he was going to be 6'6" center. That's nothing to snuff at. So, yeah. You get that size, something they like, guy that likes to play a little physical, has some scoring touch, so could be a good player for them down the road.
So, just to wrap it up, the one team that did not get a pick in the first round, we've already talked about it, the Chicago Blackhawks. Originally, were not going to be selecting until the third round, Trent. Mm-hmm. Traded Andrew Shaw, which was I know I've already said it before, but that was a trade that really shocked me. They traded him to the Montreal Canadiens for 2 second-rounders. Mm-hmm. So they go from, at one time they weren't going to be drafting, I think until about 73rd overall. I believe they now have 3 second-round picks with that trade and the earlier Bickle trade. So they're going to be busy early tomorrow morning. And then St. Louis also making some big waves. They make this pick 26th overall, but the big news being their trade of Brian Elliott. A lot of teams scrambling. I guess the word is that it's got something to do with the expansion draft and things like that. But again, I'm just shocked because Brian Elliott was such a key part of that team. I know they have Jake Allen as well, but they got some good goaltenders in Chicago with the Wolves, but they're young. They're I think 21 and 22 years old, but this will definitely be, I would assume, Jake Allen's team, and mm-hmm. So I guess we'll go from there. Any other comments on the opening round, Trent?
No, I think, there was quite a few deals that, happened. Nothing, I wouldn't say, Shaw moving, Brian Elliott moving.
Yeah.
Those are some big ones. Nothing quite leading up to it as big as, people thought there might be. With the names like Shattenkirk out there, mm-hmm. Ben Bishop, Marc-Andre Fleury, Jimmy Howard, and also PK Subban, along with a handful of Edmonton Oilers that could be going anywhere. So, there was a lot of players that were in the rumor mill. A couple big ones, but nothing. I wouldn't say we had that blockbuster trade yet.
Right.
But there's still the draft tomorrow, and tomorrow they can, or actually tonight at midnight, the teams can start talking to free agents. So
yeah.
I would suspect that there's gonna be quite a few teams calling Steven Stamkos tonight, trying to see what his plans are for the future. But overall, I think each of the teams in the Midwest did a pretty good job drafting tonight. None of them did anything crazy, but I think it was pretty good.
Yeah, it was interesting. I think all 5 teams made some kind of news, beginning with Columbus, went off the board a little bit with their pick. Mm-hmm. Well, not really off the board, but they... a lot of people expected them to take Puljujarvi, but pretty much everybody, I think, made some kind of news. Mm-hmm. Like you said, we're just a couple hours away. A lot of GMs are going to be really having to sip the coffee and maybe take a few caffeine pills because they're going to be talking to free agents here in a couple hours. They got to be back to work tomorrow for round 2 through 7. So not as big news usually on the second day. The big news is on the first. But you know, we're just getting started. We're a couple days away from July 1st, and there'll be more big news.
Yeah, tons of big news July 1st.
Yeah. With them opening the door, and this is, I think, new. I wasn't aware that they were allowed to talk to players ahead of time like this. Maybe it's something that everybody kind of did. I suspect that people kind of did it in secret anyway, so they're kind of making it official now that it's okay. And I suspect that means on July 1st, we're probably going to see deals at like 8 o'clock in the morning, 9 o'clock. You know, probably be a lot of stuff that happens right out of the gate on July 1st, which I think is next week.
Yep.
So thanks for watching this, and we'll keep you posted as the summer goes on.
Good night, and stay classy, Midwest.